My name is Chloe Anderson, I'm 32, and I'm about to tell you how my own parents stabbed me in the back with a smile on their faces. After clawing my way up from nothing to become a successful software engineer, I bought them a brand new car as a thank you gift. 40 grand, just because I wanted to show them I'd made it, that their daughter was finally worth being proud of. 1 month later, they sold it. Not for an emergency. Not for medical bills. They sold my gift to throw my sister Scarlett the most extravagant graduation party money could buy. The kicker, I wasn't even invited to the damn thing. But wait, it gets worse. 3 months later, my mother calls with the most audacious request I've ever heard in my life. Before I tell you what she asked for, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and smash that subscribe button if family has ever taken advantage of your generosity. Because this story is about to get ugly. Growing up in suburban Michigan, I knew something was off about how my parents Benjamin and Victoria treated me compared to my younger sister Scarlett. We weren't rich, but my parents always found ways to make Scarlett feel like a princess while my achievements got the bare minimum acknowledgement. I still remember my 10th birthday like it was yesterday. My parents promised me a small party, nothing fancy, they said. 2 friends, pizza, cake from a box, that was it. 2 months later, Scarlett turned 8, bounce house, professional face painting. 20 screaming kids running around our backyard like it was goddamn Disneyland. We got an unexpected bonus at work, they explained with straight faces. Funny how those bonuses only showed up for Scarlett's milestones. School was the same story, honor roll throughout middle school. That's what we expect from you, Chloe. Scarlett managed to scrape a B- in English. Time to celebrate with a fancy dinner and a shopping spree. The contrast was so stark it would have been laughable if it wasn't so devastating. High school graduation, I was valedictorian, full scholarship to University of Michigan for computer science. My parents, mom had to work late. Dad forgot to charge his phone and missed the ceremony entirely. I sat there watching other kids' parents beam with pride while mine couldn't be bothered to show up. 2 years later, they both took time off work to watch Scarlett warm the bench at a volleyball game. The favoritism was so obvious it hurt to breathe sometimes. But you know what I did? I pushed harder, worked myself to the bone trying to earn what Scarlett got just by existing. Maybe if I achieved more, if I made more money, if I proved I was worthy of their attention, things would change. College was a grind. 20 hours a week at the campus bookstore, plus teaching assistant work, all while maintaining my scholarship GPA. My parents called occasionally, but every conversation somehow circled back to Scarlett's latest drama or her need for more money. I sent what I could from my tight student budget whenever they mentioned struggling to pay for Scarlett's summer programs or her third laptop in 2 years. After graduation, I landed an entry-level position at a tech startup in San Francisco. Moving to California was like finally being able to breathe. 3,000 miles between me and the constant reminder that I'd never be their favorite. Over the next 8 years, I climbed the ladder. Hard work, killer performance reviews, promotions. By 30, I was a senior engineer at one of Silicon Valley's most prestigious companies. My salary had quadrupled since my first job. I lived comfortably but below my means, building substantial savings. Still sent birthday gifts, holiday checks, contributions when they claimed money was tight. Every visit home came with expensive presents and fancy dinners on my dime. Did it earn me their love, their recognition? Hell no. Every conversation still revolved around Scarlett. She'd changed majors 3 times, stretching her undergraduate degree to 6 years, all fully funded by my parents who drained their retirement savings to support her journey of self-discovery. Meanwhile, I'd built financial security through blood, sweat, and determination. The contrast was painful, but my parents had an explanation for everything. Scarlett needs more support. You've always been fine on your own. Even after years of therapy helping me recognize this toxic dynamic, some pathetic part of me still hoped. Maybe someday they'd see me, really see me. Maybe someday I'd be enough. That someday never came. Instead, I got a masterclass in betrayal. The idea to buy them a car started with a phone call last spring. Dad mentioned their 11-year-old Toyota was having transmission problems. Repairs would cost nearly 4 grand. We'll probably need to take out a loan, he sighed. The timing's terrible with Scarlett's graduation coming up. There it was again, Scarlett's needs taking priority over basic maintenance. But instead of feeling that familiar sting, I saw an opportunity. I'd just received a massive performance bonus. My investment portfolio was healthy. I'd been thinking about upgrading my own car anyway. Maybe this was my chance. Maybe a grand gesture would finally bridge the gap between us. What if I helped with the car situation? I offered. The silence stretched before Mom chimed in from the background. Oh honey, we couldn't ask you to do that. But her tone said otherwise. Actually, I continued, the idea crystallizing. What if I helped you get a new car instead? Repair costs on older vehicles keep adding up. I'm in a position where I can help. More silence. Then Dad's voice, thick with uncharacteristic emotion. That's too much, Chloe. We couldn't accept something that generous. Their token resistance crumbled fast when I insisted. Over the next week, I researched reliable SUVs. Settled on a Ford Explorer with excellent safety ratings and comfort features perfect for aging parents, $40,000. A significant chunk of money, but worth it if it could repair our relationship. I coordinated with a dealership near their home, arranging to finalize the purchase during my next visit. Didn't tell them exactly what I was planning, just that I wanted to help with their car situation. When I arrived in Michigan, I suggested we visit the dealership just to look at options. Their confusion turned to shock when the salesperson greeted me by name and led us to a gleaming navy blue Explorer in the delivery area. "We have the paperwork ready for your signature, Miss Anderson," he said with a smile. Mom's hands flew to her mouth. "Chloe, what is this?" "It's yours," I said, feeling a rush of pride and vulnerability. No more repair bills, no more worries about breaking down. What happened next was everything I dreamed of my entire life. Mom actually cried and hugged me tight. Dad, never one for displays of emotion, embraced me with tears in his eyes. "I don't know what to say," he mumbled. "This is too generous." "You've done so much for our family," I replied carefully. "I'm fortunate to be in a position to give back." We spent the afternoon completing paperwork, learning about features. My parents seemed genuinely thrilled, taking photos, immediately calling relatives to share the news. Even Scarlett showed up for dinner that evening, summoned by Mom to see the new vehicle. Her reaction was predictably less enthusiastic. "Wow, must be nice to have money to throw around," she commented, examining the car critically. "I could have used help with my student loans instead." Mom quickly shushed her. "Don't be ungrateful. Your sister did something wonderful." "I'm just saying," Scarlett shrugged. "40,000 could have covered my entire student debt." I bit my tongue. No point mentioning that Mom and Dad had already paid for her entire education while I worked through college on scholarship. This moment wasn't about old grievances, it was about creating something new. For the next 2 weeks after returning to California, my parents called regularly with updates. Photos of them showing friends, using it for grocery runs, taking day trips to nearby state parks. Mom left voicemails about how much easier the higher seating was on her arthritic knees. Dad texted about the excellent gas mileage. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely connected to them. They were calling me, initiating contact, expressing gratitude. Maybe the car represented more than transportation. Maybe it was finally the turning point I'd hoped for. Then came the warning signs I should have recognized. During our third post-gift call, Mom mentioned casually, "You know, Scarlett felt a little left out with all this car excitement. We were thinking we should do something special for her too, since you're obviously doing so well financially now." I paused, unsure how to respond. The car was a gift because you needed reliable transportation. It wasn't meant to create obligations for more gifts. Of course, Mom backpedaled quickly. "I just meant it would be nice if there was something equally valuable for Scarlett someday." Family equity is important, don't you think? Family equity, code for Scarlett deserves expensive gifts too. Another red flag came when Dad referred to our new family car during a video call despite the vehicle being specifically registered in my parents' names. These comments nagged at me, but I dismissed them. Old habits, old insecurities, I was probably overreacting. As I flew back to San Francisco, I felt cautiously optimistic. Maybe this generous gift had finally shifted something fundamental. Maybe at 32, I'd finally be treated like an equal family member instead of an outsider looking in. How spectacularly wrong I was. Over the next few weeks, communication from my parents gradually declined. The enthusiastic calls about the car dwindled, then stopped entirely. My texts asking how they were enjoying the Explorer went unanswered or got brief, vague responses. At first, I figured the novelty was wearing off. New car excitement naturally fades, but the sudden communication drop felt strange after our apparent breakthrough. One evening, scrolling through Facebook, I noticed something odd in the background of a photo Mom had posted of her garden. Parked in the driveway was their old Toyota, not the new Explorer I'd bought them. I zoomed in, confirming it was definitely their previous vehicle, which I'd assumed would be sold or traded. I sent a casual text, "Saw Mom's garden photo, still driving the old car sometimes too?" Dad replied hours later, "Works fine after minor repair." No mention of the Explorer. No explanation for why they were using the old car instead of the gift I'd given them. Something was seriously wrong. A few days later, checking email, I noticed a message in my promotions folder from my old high school alumni network. Subject line, "Congratulations to alumni family members 2023 graduates." Curious, I opened it to find a digital announcement featuring recent graduates with alumni connections. There, smiling in cap and gown, was Scarlett. The blurb mentioned her graduation ceremony would be held the following weekend at the Grand Hotel, one of the most expensive venues in our hometown. My stomach dropped. Not only had I not received an invitation to this apparently elaborate event, but no one had even mentioned it was happening. I immediately called Dad, who answered with obvious reluctance. "Dad, I just saw an announcement about Scarlett's graduation ceremony this weekend. Was my invitation lost in the mail?" I tried keeping my tone light, giving them the benefit of the doubt. A long pause before he cleared his throat. Well, Chloe, we thought since you're so busy in California and it's such a long trip for just a ceremony, you wouldn't want to come anyway. You could have asked me, I replied, hurt evident in my voice. Scarlett's my sister, of course I'd want to be there. Another uncomfortable silence stretched between us before I asked the question that had been eating at me. By the way, I noticed in Mom's recent photo you're using the old car. Is something wrong with the Explorer? What came next sent a cold shock wave through my entire body. We sold it about 3 weeks ago, he stated matter-of-factly, like discussing the weather. Got a good price for it too, almost what you paid. I struggled to find words. You sold the car I gave you? Why would you do that without even telling me? Well, Scarlett's graduation expenses came up and we needed the funds. The venue deposit alone was $15,000. Then there's catering, photographer, custom invitations, and the graduation gift we're surprising her with. My mind reeled as I calculated the timeline. They'd sold the car barely a month after receiving it, right around when their enthusiastic calls stopped. The old car's running fine after we fixed it, he continued, seemingly oblivious to my distress. Just needed a sensor replacement, not the full transmission work we thought, and Scarlett deserved something special for finally completing her degree. So you sold a $40,000 gift I gave you to throw a party I wasn't even invited to, I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. Now don't be dramatic, Chloe. You've always been the independent one. Scarlett needs more support and celebration for her achievements since they don't come as easily as they did to you. Mom's voice suddenly came on the line. Apparently she'd been listening the whole time. Besides, you're doing fine without attending the ceremony. You have your fancy California life and career. This is Scarlett's moment to shine for once. The casual cruelty of their justification left me speechless. Not only had they sold my heartfelt gift without consultation, but they'd used the proceeds to fund an event they deliberately excluded me from. The car was registered to you, I finally managed. Legally, it was yours to sell. But I gave it as a gift, not as graduation party funds for Scarlett. Family resources should benefit the whole family, Mom replied firmly. You chose to spend your money on us and we chose to use it where it was most needed. Scarlett hasn't had your advantages. I ended the call shortly after, sitting in stunned silence in my apartment. The betrayal felt physical, like a blow to the chest. All the hope I'd felt, all the warming in our relationship I thought the gift had created, evaporated instantly. Not only had my generosity been discarded, but it had been redirected to explicitly exclude me from a family milestone. After discovering my parents had sold the car to fund Scarlett's lavish graduation celebration, I spent the night alternating between tears of hurt and rage. By morning, I'd made an impulsive decision. I needed to confront this face to face, not over the phone where they could easily dismiss my feelings. I booked the next available flight to Michigan, called in sick for 2 days, packed an overnight bag. The 5-hour flight gave me time to rehearse what I wanted to say, though my thoughts remained a turbulent mix of betrayal, indignation, and that familiar childhood pain of being the less valued daughter. Landing in Detroit, I rented a car and drove straight to my parents' suburban home, arriving unannounced in the early evening. Both cars were in the driveway, the old Toyota prominently parked where the Explorer should have been. The physical absence of my gift renewed my determination to have this conversation. I knocked firmly. My heart pounded against my ribs. Mom answered, her initial smile of surprise quickly fading to wariness when she registered my expression. Chloe, what are you doing here? We had no idea you were coming. That seems to be a pattern lately, I replied, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Important family events happening without my knowledge. Dad emerged from the living room, confusion shifting to defensiveness when he saw me. This is unexpected. Is everything okay? No, I stated firmly, setting my bag down. Everything is not okay. We need to talk about the car you sold and Scarlett's graduation party I wasn't invited to. Mom's posture stiffened. I thought we covered this on the phone. There's nothing more to discuss. You sold a $40,000 gift I gave you without even mentioning it, then used that money for an event I was deliberately excluded from. Yes, there's plenty to discuss. Dad gestured toward the living room with a sigh. Let's at least sit down if we're going to have this conversation. As we entered the living room, I noticed Scarlett lounging on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. She looked up with annoyance at the interruption. Oh great, the golden child has descended from her California throne. What crisis brings you to the realm of us common folk? Scarlett, Mom warned half-heartedly. I addressed my sister directly. Did you know they sold the car I gave them to pay for your graduation party? She shrugged, returning to her phone. So what if they did? It was their car to sell. You can afford it anyway with your tech money. Some of us aren't so privileged. The casual dismissal from all 3 family members ignited something in me. Years of swallowing hurt, of making excuses for their behavior, of trying to earn love through achievement and generosity burst forth. That car represented months of my hard work, I said, my voice rising despite efforts to stay calm. It wasn't just about the money. It was about showing appreciation for my parents. I thought it might finally help them see that I'm part of this family too, not just a bank account you can withdraw from whenever Scarlett needs something. Mom crossed her arms. You're being completely selfish right now. Family helps family. We needed the money for Scarlett's special day and you had already provided it through the car. It was practical. Practical would have been telling me about this decision. Practical would have been inviting me to my own sister's graduation. What you did was deceptive and hurtful. Dad stepped in, his tone patronizing. Chloe, we never promised to keep the car forever. It was a gift, and once given, the recipient can do whatever they want with it. Would you have sold it if Grandma had given it to you? I challenged. That's different, he replied, avoiding my eyes. How is it different? Mom interrupted. Because you're the child and we're the parents, we don't need to justify our decisions to you. If anything, you should be happy your gift helped make your sister's graduation special. Scarlett looked up from her phone with a smirk. Yeah, and it was special. Too bad you missed it. The chocolate fountain alone cost $3,000. The casual cruelty of her remark, coupled with my parents' unwavering defense, caused something to crack inside me. Tears welled in my eyes despite my determination to stay composed. Do you have any idea how much that car meant to me to give to you? My voice broke. I wanted to help, to show love, to be a good daughter. And this is how you repay that, by selling it behind my back and excluding me from family celebrations. Mom's expression hardened. You're making a scene over nothing. It was just a car. It wasn't just a car, my voice cracked completely. It was my attempt to finally be enough for you, to finally do something that would make you proud of me, that would make you treat me like you treat Scarlett. The room fell silent at my outburst. For a brief moment, I thought I saw understanding flicker in Dad's eyes, quickly extinguished as he looked away. My aunt and uncle, who'd apparently been in the kitchen and overheard the commotion, entered the room. Rather than offering perspective, they immediately joined the united front against me. Chloe, your parents have supported both you girls equally, my aunt stated firmly. They're allowed to make their own decisions about their property. You've always been so independent, my uncle added. Scarlett needs more support. That's just how family works sometimes. Surrounded by people who had consistently devalued my feelings throughout my life, I felt the walls closing in. The gaslighting was so complete that for a moment I questioned whether I was overreacting. Was I being selfish for feeling betrayed? Was I wrong to expect consideration for my $40,000 gift? We never promised to keep it forever, Mom repeated, doubling down. You're creating drama where there doesn't need to be any. Looking at their faces, something finally shattered inside me. Years of seeking approval, of making excuses for their behavior, of hoping things would change, collapsed all at once. Tears streamed down my face as I realized the brutal truth I'd been avoiding for decades. No gift, no achievement, no sacrifice would ever be enough to make them love me the way they loved Scarlett. I need to go, I managed through tears. I grabbed my bag and walked toward the door, their voices calling after me with the same justifications. You're overreacting. It was our car to sell. Family helps family. Why are you being so dramatic? I drove to a nearby hotel in a blur of tears, checked in, and collapsed on the bed. The emotional exhaustion hit me like a truck. I called my best friend in California, who listened patiently as I sobbed through the whole sordid story. I feel so stupid, I told her. I keep trying to buy their love and they keep showing me it's not for sale. You're not stupid, she replied gently. You're just a daughter who wanted her parents' approval. But Chloe, at some point you have to accept that this isn't about you being enough. It's about their issues. I spent the night processing painful truths I'd avoided for years. By morning, I'd made the decision to return to California without further confrontation. The realization that no explanation would ever satisfy them, that no amount of evidence would make them acknowledge the hurt they'd caused, was both devastating and strangely liberating. For the next several weeks after returning home, I maintained minimal contact. My parents texted occasionally as if nothing had happened, never acknowledging the confrontation or my feelings. I responded politely but briefly, protecting myself from further pain while processing my emotions through therapy and conversations with friends who actually valued me. After the confrontation in Michigan, I threw myself into work. The familiar rhythm of coding and team meetings provided welcome distraction from family turmoil. I increased my therapy sessions from monthly to weekly, finally addressing the deep-seated pain of parental favoritism I'd normalized for decades. What you experienced wasn't just disappointment, my therapist explained during one particularly insightful session. It was a profound betrayal of the parent-child bond. They consistently prioritized your sister's wants over your basic emotional needs. Those words helped me understand why the car incident had affected me so deeply. It wasn't just about the money or even the object itself. The pattern of devaluing my contributions while elevating Scarlett's needs had been playing out my entire life. The car was simply the most expensive and explicit example. For nearly a month, I maintained only surface-level contact with my family. Brief texts about general wellness replaced our previous conversations. I sent no money, offered no assistance, made no attempts to bridge the widening gap. Each time my phone displayed Mom's name, my stomach tightened with anxiety, but I was determined to establish healthier boundaries. August approached, bringing Mom's 60th birthday. In previous years, I would have already booked flights, ordered custom gifts, planned elaborate celebrations to demonstrate devotion and hopefully earn some approval. This year, I considered sending only a card. 2 weeks before her birthday, Mom called unexpectedly. Seeing her name on my screen, I hesitated before answering, steeling myself for whatever guilt trip awaited. "Chloe, sweetheart, how are you?" Her voice carried warmth I hadn't heard since the day I'd presented them with car keys. "I'm fine, Mom, just busy with work." I kept my tone neutral, wondering what prompted this sudden affection. "I was just calling to catch up. We haven't had a good talk in weeks." She continued as if our last interaction hadn't involved me leaving their house in tears. "Scarlett just got a job interview at the community college. Entry-level administration, but it could lead to something better." "That's nice," I replied noncommittally. "And your father's garden is doing so well this year. The tomatoes are enormous. Remember how you used to help him plant seeds when you were little?" The strategic nostalgia wasn't subtle. I recognized this technique from childhood, seeming warmth preceding requests for favors or money. Still, I allowed the conversation to flow, curious where it was heading. After 15 minutes of superficial chit-chat about relatives I barely knew, she finally reached her point. "So my birthday's coming up in 2 weeks," she mentioned casually. "Yes, I remember. I was planning to send a card." A brief pause. "Well, I was actually hoping for something a bit more personal this year. Turning 60 is a big milestone, you know." "Did you have something in mind?" "Actually, yes." Her voice took on an entitled tone I recognized all too well. "I would really love a new car for my birthday." The audacity of the request after what had transpired left me momentarily speechless. Was she seriously asking me to buy her another vehicle after selling the first one? She continued into my silence. "Nothing too fancy, of course. I was thinking maybe a Lexus SUV, the silver one we saw in a commercial last month. Your father thinks it would be perfect for me." I found my voice. "Mom, you sold the car I gave you just a few months ago." "That was different," she dismissed. "That was a family decision to support Scarlett's graduation. This would be just for me, a special birthday gift." The casual rewriting of recent history was breathtaking. No acknowledgement of hurt feelings, no apology for exclusion from graduation, just expectation that I'd once again open my wallet. "Besides," she continued, "I think after all the drama you caused last month, this would be a nice way for you to make things right with the family." "Drama I caused?" I repeated incredulously. "Yes, showing up unannounced, upsetting everyone with accusations. Scarlett was very hurt by your attitude toward her special day." In that moment, I realized no amount of explanation would ever penetrate the family narrative, where I was eternally cast as the villain for having feelings, and Scarlett eternally the victim deserving endless support. The mental gymnastics required to justify selling my gift without telling me, excluding me from family celebration, then asking for an even more expensive gift as though I owed it to them, was truly remarkable. "I'll have to think about it," I replied, not ready to directly refuse but unwilling to agree to such an outrageous request. "Well, don't think too long. My birthday's only 2 weeks away and the dealership might need time to get the exact model I want. I prefer the premium package with leather interior. Oh, and I checked they started around 55,000. The conversation ended with my mother extracting a vague promise that I'd see what I could do about her birthday request. I sat in stunned silence after hanging up, a mixture of anger and disbelief washing over me. I immediately called two close friends to reality check the situation, worried I might be overreacting. Both were appalled. "That's not normal, Chloe," my college roommate assured me. "That's not how healthy families operate. You don't owe them another car or anything else." My other friend was more blunt. "They're treating you like an ATM, not a daughter. Time to close that account." Over the next several days, I considered my options. Part of me wanted to simply ignore the request and send a modest gift card instead. Another part felt this was an opportunity to finally address the dysfunctional patterns in our relationship. After careful reflection and another session with my therapist, I formulated a plan. I would return to Michigan for Mom's birthday, but not with the gift she expected. Instead, I'd bring something that represented the new boundaries I needed to establish for my own well-being. "You're not being vindictive," my therapist assured me when I shared my plan. "You're responding to manipulation with clear boundaries. That's healthy even if it feels uncomfortable." I booked a flight to Michigan, took 2 days off work, and prepared myself emotionally for what would likely be a difficult encounter. This time, however, I wasn't arriving with naive hopes of finally winning approval. I was coming with clear eyes about family dynamics and determination to stand up for myself. I arrived in Michigan the evening before Mom's 60th birthday, checking into a hotel rather than staying at my parents' home. The emotional distance felt necessary for what I planned to do. That night, I reviewed the words I'd carefully prepared, wanting to be clear and composed when the moment came. Mom's birthday celebration was scheduled at my aunt's home, a gathering of extended family and close friends. I knew from past experience these events were often stages for family performance, opportunities to showcase achievements and reinforce established roles. This time, I would be rewriting my part in the family script. I arrived carrying a small, beautifully wrapped box, approximately the size that might hold car keys or jewelry. My entrance caused immediate interest, with relatives glancing meaningfully at the gift in my hands. Mom's eyes lit up when she saw me, though I noticed her gaze lingered longer on the package than on my face. Chloe, you made it. I wasn't sure you'd come all this way. I wouldn't miss your 60th birthday, Mom, I replied sincerely. Despite everything, part of me still loved the woman who'd raised me, complicated as that love might be. Throughout the early celebration, Mom made several not-so-subtle references to my gift. I can't wait to see what Chloe got me. She always knows exactly what I need, she told my aunt with a meaningful glance in my direction. I noticed several relatives watching our interaction with curious expressions. Had Mom already told them she was expecting a new car, the thought made me even more certain about my decision. When time came for gift opening, Mom saved my small box for last, building anticipation among the 20 gathered family members. She held it up with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. And finally, from my successful daughter in California, she announced to the room. The emphasis on successful carried implications I recognized from years of similar comments, both acknowledging my achievements while simultaneously using them to create distance. She unwrapped the small box carefully, maintaining her smile even as confusion flickered across her face upon seeing the plain white cardboard container. Opening it, her expression froze. Instead of car keys, she found a small toy car meticulously chosen to match the Lexus model she'd requested. Alongside it was a small booklet I'd created titled How to Respect Boundaries and Appreciate Gifts, a guide for parents. Completing the contents was a $50 gift card for defensive driving lessons. The room fell silent as Mom stared at the contents, her smile completely gone. Dad stepped closer, peering into the box with growing discomfort. I don't understand, Mom finally said, looking up at me with genuine confusion. Where are the car keys? The moment had arrived. I took a deep breath and spoke clearly enough for everyone to hear. Mom, Dad, I want to explain my gift. 3 months ago, I gave you both a $40,000 car as a gesture of love and appreciation. Within weeks, you sold it without telling me and used the money to throw an elaborate graduation party for Scarlett that I wasn't even invited to. Murmurs spread through the room as relatives exchanged glances. From their reactions, I realized many hadn't known the full story. When you called asking for another, even more expensive car for your birthday, I realized we needed to have an honest conversation about respect and boundaries. The toy car represents what I'm able to give right now, not financially, but emotionally. The booklet contains my thoughts on building a healthier relationship moving forward. Mom's face had turned crimson. This is completely inappropriate, Chloe. How dare you embarrass me at my own birthday party? Dad attempted damage control. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. Why? I asked calmly. When you sold the car I gave you, did you consider discussing it with me privately first? When you planned Scarlett's graduation and decided not to include me, was privacy a concern then? Scarlett, who'd been watching from the corner with growing alarm, stepped forward. You're just jealous because for once something was about me instead of you. You've always been Mom and Dad's favorite. Several relatives actually laughed at this assertion, having witnessed our family dynamic for years. Scarlett, this isn't about jealousy, I replied evenly. This is about respect. I would never sell a valuable gift you gave me to fund a party you weren't invited to, then ask for something even more expensive as if nothing had happened. My Aunt Clara, Mom's sister, unexpectedly spoke up. Is this true, Victoria? You sold Chloe's car gift and didn't invite her to Scarlett's graduation? Mom faltered. It wasn't like that. We needed the money for Scarlett's special day and Chloe's always so busy in California. She wouldn't have wanted to come anyway. Shouldn't that have been my choice? I asked. The room had grown uncomfortably quiet. Years of carefully constructed family narrative were unraveling as relatives witnessed the dynamic directly instead of hearing my parents' filtered version. Going forward, I continued, maintaining my composure, I want a relationship with all of you based on mutual respect. I'm happy to give gifts I can afford, but I won't be treated like a family bank account. I won't fund events I'm excluded from. And I won't pretend hurtful actions didn't happen just to keep the peace. Mom was nearly in tears, whether from genuine remorse or embarrassment at being exposed was unclear. I can't believe you would ruin my birthday like this. I'm not trying to ruin anything, I responded. I'm trying to build something better than what we've had, but that requires honesty from all of us. Dad, looking more thoughtful than I'd seen him in years, placed his hand on Mom's shoulder. Perhaps we should listen to what Chloe's saying. The party atmosphere had irrevocably shifted. Some relatives looked uncomfortable, others thoughtful, and a few nodded in apparent understanding of dynamics they'd observed but never named. I stayed another 30 minutes, accepting a piece of birthday cake and making polite conversation with relatives who approached me with newfound respect. When I felt the point had been made, I said my goodbyes, embracing Mom despite her stiff response. I do love you, Mom, I said quietly. That's why I'm asking for better than what we've had. As I drove back to my hotel, my phone began chiming with text messages. To my surprise, several came from cousins and even an uncle expressing support for what I'd done. About time someone said something, wrote my cousin Jeff. We've all seen how they treat you for years. Proud of you for standing up for yourself, texted my uncle Robert. Not easy to do in this family. These unexpected allies confirmed what I'd suspected but never fully acknowledged. The family dynamics weren't just visible to me but had been apparent to others who'd remained silent out of deference to my parents. As my plane lifted off the next morning, I felt a weight lifting with it. For the first time in my adult life, I'd confronted the painful patterns in my family not with desperate attempts to earn approval, but with clear boundaries and honest communication. Whatever came next, I'd spoken my truth. Returning to California after the confrontation at Mom's birthday party, I experienced a jumble of emotions. Relief mixed with guilt, empowerment with doubt. Had I done the right thing by publicly addressing years of inequity, or had I simply caused unnecessary pain? These questions plagued me during sleepless nights and distracted workdays. My therapist provided anchoring perspective during our next session. Family systems resist change, she explained. When you alter your role in the dynamic, everyone feels destabilized. That discomfort doesn't mean you were wrong to set boundaries. The initial weeks following the confrontation brought silence from my parents. No calls, no texts, not even the passive-aggressive social media comments I'd half expected. Scarlett predictably sent several lengthy messages describing how I'd ruined everything and always needed to make things about myself. I read them once, then muted the conversation without responding. This silence created space for genuine healing to begin. Without the constant drain of trying to earn approval or manage family drama, I redirected that energy toward building a life that truly nourished me. I joined a hiking group, took a ceramics class I'd been curious about for years, deepened friendships that had sometimes taken a backseat to family obligations. My professional life flourished as well. With fewer emotional distractions, I contributed more meaningfully to projects and earned a promotion I'd been working toward for months. The irony wasn't lost on me that stepping back from trying to prove my worth to my family had created space to advance in ways that actually mattered to me. 3 months after the birthday confrontation, I received an unexpected email from Dad. Unlike Mom's usually emotionally charged communications, his message was thoughtful and measured. "I've been reflecting on what you said at the party," he wrote. "While I don't agree with how you chose to express yourself, I recognize there may be some truth to your perspective. Your mother and I never intended to hurt you. Is there a way forward that works for all of us?" This cautious olive branch opened a door to careful, measured reconnection. Over several phone calls, Dad and I began having conversations that, while sometimes uncomfortable, felt more honest than our interactions had been in years. He never directly apologized for selling the car or excluding me from Scarlett's graduation, but he at least acknowledged these actions had affected me deeply. Mom took longer to reach out, and when she finally called, her approach was less reflective. "I think we've all had enough time to cool down," she said, as if the issue had been temporary anger rather than long-standing patterns. Families shouldn't stay mad at each other. I maintained my boundaries firmly but kindly. "I'm not mad, Mom. I'm establishing healthier ways for us to relate to each other. That includes being honest about how we feel and respecting each other's choices." Our relationship remained tenuous, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. When my birthday arrived in November, my parents sent a simple card with a restaurant gift certificate, a modest but thoughtful gesture without the loaded expectations of previous years. I thanked them sincerely, recognizing it as a small step toward more balanced exchanges. Scarlett remained most resistant to any recalibration of family dynamics. Having benefited from the previous imbalance, she had the most to lose from its correction. Our limited interactions remained strained, though I left the door open for a different relationship when she was ready. The most surprising development came from extended family. Relatives who'd witnessed the birthday confrontation began reaching out individually, sharing their own experiences of similar dynamics in their branches of the family tree. These conversations revealed patterns extending back generations, helping me understand that what I'd experienced wasn't unique to me but part of a larger family system. As the holiday season approached, I made the decision to visit Michigan but with clear parameters. I would stay at a hotel, limit visits to defined periods, and remove myself from any situations that became unhealthy. This approach allowed me to maintain connection without sacrificing my well-being. The Christmas gathering was notably different from previous years. My parents were more cautious in their interactions with me, less quick to dismiss my contributions or elevate Scarlett's. Scarlett herself maintained cool distance but refrained from outright hostility. Most significantly, I felt different, no longer desperately seeking validation or swallowing hurt to keep the peace. As the new year began, I reflected on the profound lessons of the previous months. The car incident, painful as it had catalyzed necessary growth and change. I'd learned that real generosity comes without strings but also without doormat status. I discovered that standing up for myself didn't mean losing my family, even if it meant transforming how we related to each other. Most importantly, I'd internalized that my worth was never contingent on my parents' ability to recognize it. Their limitations, shaped by their own histories and challenges, had influenced how they parented but didn't define my value. These realizations extended beyond family relationships. I became more discerning in friendships, more willing to express needs in my dating life, and more authentic in professional settings. The boundaries I'd finally established with my family created a template for healthier connections in all areas. When I think about the $40,000 car now, I see it not as a costly mistake, but as an expensive but necessary lesson. It took that significant loss for me to finally recognize and address the patterns that had shaped my life since childhood. In that sense, perhaps it was worth every penny. The journey of healing family wounds is rarely complete or perfect. There are still difficult moments, misunderstandings, and old habits that emerge in our interactions. But beneath these challenges runs a new current of authenticity that makes even the hard conversations worthwhile. If you've ever struggled with family dynamics where your generosity was taken for granted or your needs overlooked, know that change is possible. It begins not with changing others, but with changing how you participate in established patterns. Sometimes the most generous thing you can give yourself is permission to step back and require respect. I don't know what the future holds for my relationship with my parents and sister. Healing is a process without guarantees. What I do know is that whatever comes next will be built on more honest foundations than what came before. Have you ever had to establish difficult boundaries with family? What helped you find the courage to stand up for yourself? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more authentic conversations about family dynamics and personal growth. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, sometimes the most important gift you can give is teaching others how to truly value what you offer.